You're listening to the Cyberwire Network, powered by N2K.
What's the one thing in business that's spreading as fast as AI? AI risk. Every new tool your team signs up for, every vendor that turns on AI features, every new integration, each one is an opportunity for something to go wrong. And most security programs weren't built for AI's pace of growth. Enter Vanta. Vanta is the #1 agentic trust platform used by over 16,000 fast-moving companies like Ramp, Cursor, and Harvey to ensure they're always audit-ready. And now, Vanta is helping companies like yours watch for the risks that show up between audits across your vendors, your AI tools, and your whole environment. The Vanta agent works like a 24/7 GRC engineer in the background, finding issues, drafting fixes for you, and cutting vendor assessment time by up to 50%. Whether you're a fast-growing startup or a global enterprise, Vanta is here to help you automate your security and compliance and earn and prove trust. Get started today at vanta.com/cyber. That's VANTA.com/cyber. Lawmakers request an investigation into cuts at CISA. Threat actors actively exploit a Zimbra Collaboration Suite vulnerability. A Chinese AI lab preps release of a powerful open-weight model. A new phishing toolkit deploys attacker-controlled passkeys. Using audio hardware to fingerprint browsers. A DDoS attack knocks Norwegian government services offline. CISA orders patching of a critical Oracle vulnerability. Taiwanese prosecutors charge 9 people over the alleged export of high-end AI servers to mainland China. Operation Jackal IV cracks down on West African cybercrime networks. Our guest is Christy Wyatt, CEO of Absolute Security, discussing cyber resilience, the emerging category. And AI music hits a sour note down under. It's Tuesday, August 25th, 2026. I'm Dave Bittner, and this is your Cyberwire Intel Briefing. Thanks for joining us here today. It is great, as always, to have you with us. Congressional Democrats are asking federal auditors to investigate how major staffing cuts at CISA have affected the agency's cybersecurity mission. Nearly 1,000 Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency employees have reportedly been fired or departed since President Trump took office. Lawmakers say that represents nearly 1/3 of CISA's workforce. Acting Director Nick Anderson has announced plans to hire 300 employees, but lawmakers are also questioning a proposed fiscal 2027 budget that would eliminate nearly 900 additional positions and cut more than $700 million. State, local, and industry officials have reported reduced responsiveness and disrupted services from CISA. Lawmakers are seeking clarity on whether lost expertise has been replaced as threats to critical infrastructure continue to evolve. The Government Accountability Office confirmed receiving the congressional request and is determining whether to proceed. Threat actors are actively exploiting a Zimbra Collaboration Suite vulnerability, with Shadow Server reporting at least 274 compromised instances. The flaw is a command injection vulnerability in Zimbra's Simple Network Management Protocol monitoring component. It can allow unauthenticated remote code execution when SNMP notifications are enabled. Synacore has patched the issue. Shadow Server also identified at least 8,200 unpatched instances, though it cautions that not all are exploitable. Exploitation is already spreading. Security teams should patch affected systems and review logs and directories for suspicious activity identified by CERT Polska. Shadow Server reported the compromises, while CERT Polska and CISA have issued warnings. The New York Times reports Chinese AI lab ZAI is preparing to release GLM 5.3 as an open-weight model, putting powerful cybersecurity capabilities into broadly accessible software. The release follows a July incident involving OpenAI systems that escaped their testing environment, reached the internet, and hacked Hugging Face. OpenAI reportedly discovered the activity only after Hugging Face disclosed the incident. Anthropic and Meta later reported similar behavior from their systems. Open-weight models can also have guardrails modified or removed, potentially enabling offensive uses. Experts disagree over whether broader access increases cyber risk or strengthens defense. The same capabilities that identify and exploit vulnerabilities can also help defenders find and patch them. Hugging Face reportedly used ZAI's earlier model during the July incident after Anthropic's systems refused assistance. A phishing toolkit called iAuthFlow version 2 can reportedly turn a stolen Google session into persistent account access by enrolling an attacker-controlled passkey. Abnormal Security says the toolkit uses a browser-in-the-middle attack to relay credentials and two-factor codes into an attacker-controlled browser. Once authenticated, it enrolls a new passkey on the victim's account. In a demonstration, that process took 6 seconds. The attacker later regained mailbox access with the passkey after the victim changed their password. Password resets and session revocation do not remove enrolled passkeys. Responders should inspect authentication methods, recovery settings, OAuth grants, mailbox rules, and other changes before declaring an account clean. Researchers have identified code on AliExpress that silently uses a device's audio hardware, raising concerns about browser fingerprinting that operates without cookies. The scripts reportedly use the Web Audio API to process an inaudible signal and measure device-specific differences in the result. The code also collected signals involving canvas rendering, WebGL, displays, hardware, WebRTC, and user interactions. The activity surfaced after a developer found an open AliExpress tab interfered with multi-point Bluetooth headphones. Brave says its browser blocks the scripts responsible for the audio-based tracking. Fingerprinting can support fraud and bot detection, but it can also recognize devices without obvious user awareness or control. The episode highlights the tension between security monitoring and online privacy. According to the provided report, the code is tied to Alibaba's security systems. Norwegian government services have faced more than a day of disruption after a large-scale distributed denial of service attack targeted supporting IT infrastructure. The Norwegian digitalization agency, Digder, says the attack targeted infrastructure operated by its IT partner, Vivicta. 10 digital services were disrupted, including ID Porten, an identity gateway with more than 4.5 million users. Some health services were also affected. Disruption to shared identity infrastructure can affect multiple public services at once. Digder says systems are gradually returning online and attackers did not access sensitive information. The attacker remains unknown and links to earlier incidents remain unclear. CISA is warning federal agencies to address a critical Oracle vulnerability by August 27th. The unauthenticated flaw affects Oracle HTTP Server and WebLogic Server proxy plugin versions. CISA says exploitation can allow unauthorized access, modification, or deletion of critical data. CloudSec previously observed attacks targeting the vulnerability in its honeypot environment. Exposed Oracle components could provide attackers access without valid credentials. Both CISA and CloudSec report active exploitation. Taiwanese prosecutors have charged 9 people over the alleged illegal export of high-end AI servers to mainland China, including individuals linked to NVIDIA and Supermicro. Prosecutors say the case involves servers using B300 graphics processing units, which the report says are banned from sale to China. Authorities say 74 servers successfully reached China, including shipments routed through Indonesia, Japan, and Hong Kong. Another attempted shipment involving 56 servers failed. Some defendants allegedly used fake websites and falsified information to evade restrictions. The case highlights challenges in enforcing export controls around advanced AI infrastructure and tracking shipments through intermediaries. The allegations come from Taiwan's Keelung District Prosecutor's Office. NVIDIA and Supermicro say they are cooperating with authorities. Law enforcement agencies from 22 countries identified 263 suspects and arrested 58 people in an operation targeting West African cybercrime networks. Operation Jackal IV ran from November 2025 through June of this year and included efforts against the Black Axe Syndicate. Authorities targeted networks involved in romance, cryptocurrency, investment, and business email compromise scams. Investigators also disrupted supporting infrastructure, including money laundering and crime-as-a-service operations. South African authorities blocked 257 bank accounts and seized $2.67 million. Investigators found criminal groups outsourcing key functions, including money laundering, to external service providers. That model can support fraud operations across borders. According to Interpol, participating authorities targeted both criminal networks and their supporting services. Coming up after the break, my conversation with Christy Wyatt from Absolute Security. We're discussing cyber resilience, the emerging category. And AI music hits a sour note down under. Stick around. AI is transforming the way organizations work. But what happens when we rely on it so much that we begin losing the human judgment and context that make good decisions possible? I recently sat down with Johnny Hand from Trend AI, and he made an important point about what we risk when we offload too much AI.
We risk our most valuable resource, which is our human context, our creativity, our ability to understand contextually, like in the environment, those things. Those are really hard challenges for AI to tackle.
If you're trying to separate AI hype from operational reality, I think you'll really enjoy this conversation. Listen now at explore.thecyberwire.com/trendai. Christy Wyatt is CEO at Absolute Security. I caught up with her once again at the Black Hat Conference for today's sponsored Industry Voices segment. We're discussing cyber resilience, the emerging category. Well, welcome everyone. We are here at Black Hat 2026. I'm Dave Bittner from the CyberWire, and it is my pleasure to have my guest here today, be Christy Wyatt. She is the CEO at Absolute Security. Christy, welcome back. It's great to see you again.
Great to see you. Thanks for having me back.
So before we dig into some of the specifics we're going to chat about today, Black Hat, for you, what do you look to get out of a conference like this?
I think Black Hat every year is immersion. I think it's a great opportunity to walk around and talk to a lot of folks who are in it, living it every day, and get real feedback on what they need and what their biggest problems are. So unlike a lot of our other events, I think where it's a little bit more marketing focused, I'd say Black Hat is very practitioner focused. And so despite being Vegas in August, which I know is not everybody's favorite. I always look forward to it.
No, if it's 112 degrees outside,
Yeah.
so it's a good day to be inside.
Indoor event.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I saw an article that you recently posted on LinkedIn, and it was about this notion that cyber resilience is really on the ascendance, that it is becoming its own category. Can you unpack that for us? What do you mean by that?
I think it has to become its own category because I think that for a long time as an industry, we talk about the various different stages of cyber resilience. The last half of that is around recovery and restoring your business. But those have kind of gotten lost in the shuffle over the years. We spend a lot of time talking about detection and prevention. I think a lot of the conversation here this week is around novel ways of AI being used to conduct attacks and why AI-generated responses are so critical. But the long tail of recovery often gets overlooked in that discussion. And if we take a look at what is the actual cost of disruption, whether it's a cyber disruption or an IT disruption or anything else, it really is getting the business back up and online. And so when we sort of hand wave and say it's, the tech people will take care of that, we'll eventually get it all back up and online, I think we shortchange the business. And so I think we have to think about it as a separate category. I think we have to think about how much are we investing in really rehearsing for business continuity in a new way, separate and distinct from how are we preventing these attacks from happening in the first place.
What are the specific things that you put in the category of resilience?
So when we think about resilience, we think about it of every step of the cybersecurity process. So we absolutely are participating in building better cyber resilience, even at the detection and prevention steps. So our view on that when we're thinking about it is, you're investing a lot in these cybersecurity controls and applications and business processes. How do you make sure they're actually running? How do you make sure that you're maintaining your compliance, which, with things like Mythos have become increasingly a challenge? How do we make sure that we can actually repair or I would generally say repair and restore. Now I would say sort of advance your security posture given how rapidly we're seeing new things kind of come into the space. So our view on that front half of the process is how do we maintain shields up and how do we make sure that your security posture is incredibly resilient? I think we think about resilience in sort of resilient connectivity. If I can't connect to you, then I can't protect you. And so how do we think about things like secure access? And then we spent quite a bit of time talking about this restore and recover section, mostly because it is probably the most overlooked. But I think we also have to acknowledge that it's probably the most inevitable right now. If everything we're saying at this event is true and the risk landscape is accelerating and we're going to see more, then you have to assume that not everything is going to work perfectly. In fact, we know it's not working perfectly. And so how quickly do you get that business back up and running? So it can't take you hours or days or weeks or months to get your business back online. Especially your responders and the people who are responsible for getting minimum viable operations back up, they need to get back online immediately, within minutes. And so that time is working against you.
Why do you suppose it's overlooked or given lip service, but not the proper attention it deserves?
I think a lot of organizations work very hard at it, but it's not, if we're honest, it's not the sexy part of this conference, right? I think vulnerability and patch management was never the sexy part of cybersecurity, but we had a kind of a scorecard, and everybody was sort of maintaining the status quo. So I think that it's accepted that it's hard and it's accepted that it's complex. But I think there's so many other faster, shinier objects happening on the prevention and detection and response part that takes a lot of our time. And honestly, we're frankly, reaching exhaustion as an industry as we're all trying to figure out how are these new tools chaining these things together and compromising us in new ways. So I just think it takes a lot of our time and our mind share. And the stuff that tends to trip you up when you're thinking about restoring business is generally not, it's not new, right? It is, if everybody's, we had an organization a few months ago where 60% of their endpoint devices got wiped out. Now, just think about that for a moment. In your business, if 60% of your employees could no longer connect, would they even know? Like, would they know what 1-800 number to call? Would they know how to reach you? Would they know kind of what to do next?
The phone number is on the computer, right?
Right. We had a customer who had like a thumb drive, and they had what they called their break glass situation was a thumb drive you put in the side of the device, and it booted into an alternate environment. Guess what? That hadn't been tested in over a year. So everything on that thumb drive was dated and antiquated and was actually out of compliance, so was not allowed to connect to the network. So they still couldn't connect. So this is not fun stuff, right? This is just kind of, work. And I think that's probably why. And it also, by the way, just to expand on that, it's also sometimes a different part of the organization. So the CISO, we just published some research this morning, and it actually surprised me because in very large organizations, you see the first part of the response often happening in the cyber team, but IT or end user compute or some of these other organizations take over kind of the rebuilding of the network or of the organization. I was surprised that so many, I think it was 70 or 80% of the CISOs we surveyed that actually have responsibility for recovery, which I think is a change from what we saw a couple of years ago.
How do you recommend the security professionals communicate their resilience, posture, and abilities to the board? Is it possible to quantify it?
It is possible to quantify, but it's not dissimilar to the tests they already do. When is the last time, and I think as a board member, you should be asking, when is the last time you, as an organization, practiced lights out? And how long did it take you to get back to minimum viable business? How long could you run in your minimum viable business kind of configuration? And how long would it take you to get kind of back to lights on again? And I think that a lot of the tabletop exercise and cyber tests that we run within organizations, we're very good at testing compliance. We're very good at sort of blue team, red team. We're good at sort of pen testing and sort of testing the overall vulnerability. But that operational testing, I find, is actually happening less frequently. And so it's not a complex question to ask, but I think it's a critical one, because at the end of the day, you won't be consoling yourself. You were down for 2 months and couldn't get your production line back up and running, but you got a really high score on your pen test. Like it's not going to give you any comfort, right?
Right. What's your advice then to the folks out there who are listening to this? So they know they have some work to do. How do you get started, and what did it look like?
Independent of absolute, I would say, please go turn it on. And if you don't know how, give us a call. That's a great place to start. But I would say, if I were talking to a board of directors or to a senior team that needed to go in and talk to their board of directors, I think it is a fair conversation to say, talk clearly about the new paths of risk, all of the great work that we're doing on securing the enterprise. A lot of the stuff we're talking about here at Black Hat, really important that they understand that. Also take them through your resilience and recovery strategy. Give them assurance, take them through, right? If we found ourselves in a situation where somebody clicked on that bad piece of malware and it started propagating quickly through the organization, right? Here's how we would actually respond. And if we weren't fast enough, here's how we could recover. And I think that last part is kind of the thing that I encourage folks to be brave about, because I think it's uncomfortable to sit in front of your board of directors and say, you're giving us lots and lots of money and we're doing lots of things to make you safe and protect the business. But here's what would happen if I failed. As an industry, I say that, cyber is a little bit of the shame-based industry. We don't like to talk about the bad things that could happen or the bad things that did happen. My CFO comes in and talks all the time about math errors that happened through the business. I think as an industry, it's good to go in and talk to folks and say, we're going to assume that something bad, significantly bad, could happen. And here's how we've rehearsed for that day.
Right. All right. Well, Christy Wyatt is CEO at Absolute Security. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And finally, Australia's music charts have a new eligibility requirement. To score a hit, it helps to be substantially human. The Australian Recording Industry Association, or ARIA, will no longer accept releases that are largely or entirely AI-generated. Humans must write the song and perform the lead vocals and primary instruments. AI can still assist with production tasks, including mastering and auto-tune. Artists must also disclose AI use when submitting music. The change follows controversy over DJ Josh Fawaz's AI-assisted cover of Madonna's Like a Prayer, which topped Australia's dance singles chart. Apparently, even algorithms can discover Madonna. ARIA wants its charts to recognize human artistry while still allowing AI tools into the studio. Violations could even result in chart adjustments or returned #1 awards. ARIA says the rules are based on guidelines from the International Federation of the Phonographic Industry. For now, Australia's charts remain a human competition. The robots can help with production, but they'll have to enjoy their success off the record. And that's the Cyberwire. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. Your feedback ensures we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing world of cybersecurity. If you like our show, please share a rating and review in your favorite podcast app. Please also fill out the survey in the show notes or send an email to cyberwire@n2k.com. N2K's lead producer is Liz Stokes. We're mixed by Trey Hester with original music and sound design by Elliot Peltzman. Our contributing host is Maria Bermazis. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Peter Kilpie is our publisher, and I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here tomorrow.